Hey everybody, it's Ron from Pick Dawgz, and this is Ron's Bank Shop Breakdown. We're going to go over 5 college basketball games for Tuesday, November 8th, 2022. Now, if you like what you see, make sure to give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. Helps us out a ton. And don't forget to put your basketball picks in the comments section below. If you're looking for my best bets, you can find those at the Premium Picks tab at pickdawgz.com. Alrighty, let's get into it. It's a small card for Tuesday. We're going to go over 5 games in college hoops. First up, we see Mercer taking on East Carolina. Mercer laying 1.5 points in this one. Total set at 137. You know, Mercer last season 16-17 overall, 8-10 in SoCon play, so about middle of the pack in the conference. And I do expect this season similar results for the Mercer Bears. They do return 2 guys that I think could be 2 of the better players in the SoCon this season, in James Glisson III and Kamar Robertson. I think Glisson III could be a Player of the Year candidate in that conference. Last season, 10.5 points per game, 5 rebounds per game as well. And I do think he's going to get better. He'd probably be the leading scorer for this Mercer team overall. They added in a few nice transfers as well. Jalen Cobb from Fordham. They added in the forward from USF and Jalen McCreary. So I do think Mercer's going to be in good shape in Southern Conference play. You know, in non-conference play, we'll have to see. They do have a pretty simple schedule. The toughest matchup on paper right now at Florida State on November 21st. But in this game, even on the road against an American, an AAC team in East Carolina, Mercer is the favorite, which, you know, I was interested to see when I saw this game a couple of weeks ago, if the books were going to price Mercer as favorites. And it really, there's no surprise, in my opinion, as when you look at this East Carolina roster, a new head coach and a lot of new players on this team, not a lot of production from last year's team, a part of this year's Pirates roster, and that includes no more Tristan Newton, no more Vance Jackson, and no more Brandon Suggs, the top 3 leading scorers from East Carolina last year. Now, East Carolina does bring in a couple of nice transfers, but overall, I do think it's going to be a slow start to the season for the Pirates. And the big thing for me is that you bring in Winston Tabbs, the guard from Boston College, but the only problem is, at least in this game, he's probably not going to be playing, and it's seen in the line as Mercer is favored on the road. Tabbs went down with a season-ending injury last season for Boston College, so he was not, you know, it was questionable whether he was going to be able to return for the opening night game. And as far as a few weeks ago, the last I've heard is he wasn't practicing. I don't think he's going to be playing in this game. And even if he does, not a lot of work before the season to get ready for this one. I would think his minutes would be pretty much managed about 10 to 20 minutes at the most. So I like Mercer in this game. I think they are the better team. I think they have more experience. I like Glisson. I like Robertson as some scoring options for the Bears. I think the Bears grab a big win on the road, a big win for this program. Give me Mercer laying the points on the road. Next up, we see Montana taking on Duquesne. The Dukes of the A-10 laying 5.5 points in this one. Total set at 137. You know, Montana last year, 18-14 overall, 11-9 in conference play. They did lose their first game of the conference tournament to Weber State. And really, this has been a program it's been a disappointment if they don't go deep in the Big Sky tournament and if they don't make an NCAA tournament appearance. This has been a team that's been pretty successful in Division I college hoops. And yes, they bring back their leading scorer from last year in Josh Bannon. He had 15.1 points per game, 8.2 rebounds per game. He should be a Big Sky Player of the Year candidate this season, but other than Bannon, I'm just not in love with this team, especially in the backcourt. You know, you bring in a guy like Deshaun Thomas from Colorado State, a nice addition to your front court. He averaged 5.7 points per game, 3.1 rebounds per game in limited work with Colorado State, but still, I'm just not in love with the backcourt. I do think bringing in a guy like Aiden Moody is going to help your perimeter offense, but overall, I do think Duquesne has the big advantage when it comes to the guard play, and I think you look at Tevin Brewer and Day Grant, 2 big-time transfers that Duquesne was able to bring in. Tevin Brewer was 16th in the nation in assists per game at 5.6. He had 15.2 points per game, and he is just really an overall offensive-minded just playmaker. He can score, he can shoot, but he's also looking pass first most times. And Day Grant, 17.5 points per game. He also clipped in over 4 rebounds and assists per game as well. He had a nice year last season. Even though his three-point shooting numbers went down a little bit, he still had his best year of his college career at 17.5 points per game. And I do think overall, you know, look at Duquesne's last season, 6-24 overall. They went on a 17-game losing streak. They struggled on both sides of the ball. Especially their shooting numbers, one of the worst in the nation. They were ranked 341st in effective field goal percentage, and even their defense struggled, ranked 281st in adjusted defensive efficiency. I do think this team, though, is much improved in the offseason. Not a lot of production from last year's team, but I don't think that's a bad thing when you look at how bad they played down the stretch. I think Duquesne's going to be a team to watch out for in the A-10, and I like their chances in this game at home, laying a pretty reasonable number. So I'm going to lean towards the Dukes here, laying the 5.5 points at home. Next up, we see Rider taking on Providence. The Friars are laying 15 points in this one. Total set at 139. Rider 14-19 last season. They went 8-12 in conference play. They were pretty competitive in the MAAC, and in the conference tournament, they pulled off a big-time upset over Iona, 71-70. Iona was the big favorite to win that conference tourney, but Rider took them down, and going into this season, they're ranked inside the top 200 according to KenPom. And when I'm looking for underdogs in these non-conference games where you got a mid-major team going up against a Power 5 team like Providence, I'm looking for two things in those underdogs. One, can they play defense? And two, are they experienced? And Rider checks both of those boxes. Rider was top 200 in adjusted defensive efficiency last year. They're a very aggressive style of defense. They play very fast-paced defensively. They're going to force some turnovers. And when you're facing a Providence team that now has to replace 5 of their top 6 scorers from last year, the only scorer in that top 6 that's returning is Jared Bynum, who should have a great season for Providence. And I think overall, Providence is going to have another successful year, make it back to the NCAA tournament. But going into game 1 of the season, having to replace all of that productivity, not going to be easy, especially when it comes to covering a spread against a very experienced Rider team. Rider brings back their leading scorer from last year in Dwight Murray Jr., 13.1 points per game, 4.7 assists per game. I do think that Rider's in good shape overall going into the non-conference schedule and into conference play. And I like Rider to at least keep this game close and cover the number in the end. I don't think they're going to have a chance at an upset win, but I do think Rider keeps this one within the number. So give me the points with the Rider Broncos in this one. Next up, we see San Jose State hosting Georgia Southern. The Spartans are laying 3.5 points, and the total is set at 134.5. I think this total is set just a little bit too low. I know both of these teams are a little bit more slower paced, especially San Jose State offensively. They were ranked 320th in adjusted and average possession length offensively. But this is still a San Jose State team that is very volatile on both sides of the ball. A Spartans team that loves to shoot the three-point shot, and they actually made those at a pretty good rate last year and ranked 116th in three-point percentage. And you bring back a lot of your shooters from last season. Omari Moore is your leading scorer from last year. He was leading the team in points per game, rebounds per game, assists per game, steals per game, and blocks per game, if you can believe that. Even as a guard, he had all those great numbers, and a 42.9% three-point percentage for Moore. He is going to be a guy that I think is going to be one of the better players in the Mountain West this season. But you also got Myron Amy Jr., 37.6% from three. You bring in some guys off the bench, and Cardenas, 37.8% from three. So I think San Jose State's going to love to shoot the three-pointer in this game and throughout the season, and we know that can certainly help the over. When you look on the other side and you look at San Jose State, especially the front court for both of these teams, not really great defensively. Ibrahima Diallo, the Ohio State transfer on San Jose State, has had some issues with the foul trouble, some injuries as well. Yes, he averaged 7.8 points per game and 7.2 rebounds per game, but still looking for him to really be the difference maker for San Jose State defensively. Haven't seen it thus far, and I do think that Georgia Southern will find quite a bit of easy buckets down low and attacking that front court from San Jose State. You bring in for Georgia Southern a nice transfer from Jacksonville State and Jalen Finch, another guy that's a pretty sharp shooter. He had a 38-plus percentage from three-point range last year, averaged 9.1 points per game. So both of these teams have some offensive weapons. I don't love either of these defenses on paper. I do think we're going to see both teams shoot the three-point shot quite often in this game, and I do think we're going to see this game be a high-scoring one. So give me the over in this Georgia Southern-San Jose State ballgame. Next up, our final game of the night, we see Milwaukee taking on Purdue. The Boilermakers are laying 27 points in this one, total set at 141. This is just a rough spot here, in my opinion, for Milwaukee, having to play a back-to-back. They play a subdivision school on Monday for their opening night, and then have to travel to Purdue to play on back-to-back nights. I think it's going to help this team when it comes to conference play. I think scheduling as a mid-major or a team, not really projected to do too much on paper, scheduling a really tough non-conference schedule can certainly help your team, whether it's this season or in the next few years. But in terms of this particular game and when it comes to this particular point spread, I just can't get there with Milwaukee ranked 330th going into the season in KenPom ratings. Purdue ranked inside the top 25. Yes, Purdue loses a few of their scores, 3 of their top 4 scores to be exact. But this is a program that's really retooling, not really rebuilding. I think Purdue will still be a very tough team to play in the Big Ten, especially bringing back Zach Edey, the 7'4" center, who had 7.7 rebounds per game and 14.4 points per game. And that's in only 19 minutes per game, because Jaden Ivey and Travion Williams got a lot of minutes for Purdue in that front court, more so Travion Williams. But Edey's now going to get a lot more time this season with Purdue, and I do think it's going to help his numbers overall. Could be a Player of the Year candidate, and I do think Purdue is going to be just fine in this game. Plenty of depth and plenty of talent on this roster. I think Purdue earns the blowout victory, unfortunately, for Milwaukee. So I'm going to lay the points here with the Boilermakers at home to end the night. And those are the games we're going to talk about today. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to put your college hoops picks in the comments section below. And if you're looking for my best bets, again, you can find those at Pick Dawgz Premium. As always, this is Ron Romanelli. Good luck.